If you're a new special education teacher, one of the things you might be nervous about is how you actually teach from the IEP. When you first look at the IEP and you see all those goals, you might think, where do I start? How do I work this with all the kids? How do I turn that into a lesson plan that I do every day? Those are normal questions. And I'm going to tell you, when I first started as a special ed teacher, that is what stressed me out the most. I looked at the other teacher that I worked with, and it seemed like it was so easy for her. She just like knew what to do. And I remember going home, and I will be honest, I cried. And I was just like, like, how do you know what to do? How do you know what comes next? And it was really challenging for me. And I am going to skip all that for you and show you how you do it. So how do you take an IEP goal and move from that to an actual lesson plan? And I'm going to do it in the course of 3 videos. This is the first one where I'm going to show you how to set a priority. And then in the second video, I'm going to show you how you unpack that tool. And in the third video, I'm going to show you how you turn that into actual lesson plan. All right, let's go to our pretend IEP, and I'll show you how I pick my priority goals and what that means. This is a fictional IEP. I had an AI make it for me because I didn't want to take any risk at all of having a real student and breaking confidentiality. So this is a completely fictionalized example. And our pretend student is Marcus Reynolds. He's in 4th grade and he has a specific learning disability in reading. And he also has an OHI disability in ADHD. I'm going to skip down to the goals. So for this pretend IEP, he has 4 goals. He has reading with decoding and fluency, reading comprehension, and then he has 2 executive functioning goals as well. Now, with an IEP, you do need to work on every single goal. That is a requirement by law. You have to do all of them. However, there are ways to prioritize, and there's ways that you can do more than one goal per instructional session. When I look at this IEP, I'm going to break it up into 2 pieces. I've got my reading with the decoding and fluency and comprehension, and then I have executive functioning. If this is a real student that I'm working with, I have to prioritize to see what goal is going to take most of my attention. And what I am looking for is a goal that I can work on that will also touch on the other goals. So that way I'm working on everything, but I'm hitting the goal that's going to have the biggest impact for this student. When I see this, my first thought is the executive functioning can be something that's done basically every day through some accommodations and a little bit of structured teaching, but it's not something that I need to spend like 30 minutes 3 times a week doing. I don't need to do that for executive functioning skills. So when I look at this, I see that his objectives use a visual checklist. He's going to self-monitor. Okay, those are things he should be doing in the classroom. I will show him how to do it, but this is something that he needs to do in the classroom. That's the whole point of these objectives with this goal. And then he needs to use an organizational system, and he needs to identify when he needs a break. We are going to do these goals every single day, but they don't need to have a lot of actual instructional time. They need check-ins, they need monitoring. So that's a little bit different. So when I'm building my instruction, I know that I just need to give some check-in time on this, but I don't need to make it a major part of the time that we have together. That leaves me 2 goals. I've got decoding and fluency, and I have comprehension. These are both important. If a student can decode and read fluently, but they don't know what they're reading, there's no point in reading. So this comprehension is very important. But I also know that decoding is probably the priority because this student is in 4th grade and he can't really read yet. And so that is going to be a big priority for me. That's something that is going to impact him the greatest in the long term. If he doesn't learn how to decode words, he is not going to do well as he moves into 5th grade, middle school, high school. So I really need to spend a majority of my time on the decoding and fluency, but I am still going to work on comprehension because that's the whole point of reading, is to be able to understand what you're reading. So when I look at this, it's actually conveniently ranked for me already in the sample IEP. This is going to be my priority goal. When I plan instructional time, most of my time is going to be spent on reading with decoding and fluency. That's my priority. With comprehension, I am going to use some classroom time to help hit that. A lot of students that have a specific learning disability are able to comprehend at a higher level when text is read to them, or they're able to hear discussion. So that means that I can probably work at some grade level reading comprehension, even though he can't read it. So that is something I'm going to work on probably with a classroom teacher by giving Marcus some graphic organizers or different scaffolds so that he's able to kind of pay attention in class and still work on grade level text with comprehension, even though he can't read it independently yet. I'm also going to work on reading comprehension at his actual reading level because that is the goal. The annual goal says after reading a grade appropriate passage, Marcus will answer blah, blah, blah. So this means that he has to actually be able to comprehend stuff that he's reading himself. So that part I will work on during my instructional time, but I'm also going to double dip and I'm going to work on this goal through some classroom scaffolding and accommodations. But my number one goal, reading, decoding, and fluency. This is what you should do for your IEPs. You look through, you look to see what can I hit through some check-ins, some accommodations, and what needs actual devoted instructional time, and then what needs the most devoted instructional time. And once you have that, it makes it a little bit easier to plan your day and figure out how to group students and all the other stuff that you need to do. So now that you have your priority goal picked out and you know what you really need to focus on, you need to unpack the goal. We're going to do that next, and I'm going to show you my goal unpacking tool. All right, let's go.